To today's Lunch and Learn session. We've got two for you this March. The first one today, we're focusing on some of the fascinating and exciting new features around D365 CE, looking at how the tagline of Microsoft, you can do more with less, and encompassing AI and machine learning capability within the functionality. My colleague Shilin, I will hand over to very shortly. He's got a lot to get through. So I will now hand over to Shilin. Thank you very much all for joining today. Hope you enjoy the session.
Thanks, Steve. Hello, everyone. So for those who don't know me, my name is Shilin Kimani. I am the Dynamics 365 customer engagement specialist here at Aegis. So really it's my job to get onto the grips of this new exciting sort of features and technology around the customer engagement space and how we can start to leverage it within our customers' projects or optimization pieces in the space. So today, we're going to be talking about the Dynamics 365 release plan for Wave 1 that they've got for 2023. So for those who are familiar with the release plan, so Microsoft do these two big announcements every year, one which is the Wave 1, which is what we're talking about today, where they look to release features across April through to September. And then they do a second one, Wave 2, which will then be from October to March. Now, the Wave release notes in this year, well, as the years go by, really, it gets bigger and bigger in terms of the document and the information that they share with us. I remember when the first releases came out, there was about a 300-page document that unfortunately we had to read and go through to understand what's coming out in the release. That has now increased to about 560 pages, but we're here today to give you sort of the highlights in what those features are going to be looking like and ones that you might want to keep onto your radar. Now, if you want to go and have a look at the full Wave release plan, then we've got a link within the slide deck that we can share with you. But also, I just wanted to mention that Microsoft also have released a interactive experience of the release plan as well. So on their website, which is the link on the second link on the screen, you can see that they've digitized the release plan and we can specify which applications we want to focus in on and understand what releases are going to be coming when, so what are planned, what are coming soon, and what features that you can also try that are either in public preview, which you can try out in your test environment, or which ones are gone into the GA, so general availability. One thing I also wanted to mention on these interactive experiences is that you can also save specific releases to a personal plan as well. So if you see anything in there that you might want to save and keep an eye on when it does get released, then this is a great way to monitor those features, given that there's so many that Microsoft constantly releasing. So today we're looking at what's new in D365 customer engagement. And the first area I wanted to touch up on is marketing. So there were loads of features within marketing that have been announced in this space, but there was two that really sort of jumped out to me that I really wanted to talk about in today's session. One of them was about UTM tagging. Now, for those who are familiar with sort of the marketing activities that go on, so UTM tagging essentially is a bit of code that helps track the sources for traffic on your websites or landing pages. So it enables marketers to be able to attribute sort of conversion rates between the different sources of outputs that they're generating. So if you're sending out emails, then it's a way for the UTM parameters, essentially a way for the marketers to understand which emails have led to what call to action on the website, for instance, or traffic to the website. Now, before this was possible, but you had to manually add code or add the UTM parameters into the body of an email, for example, to be able to track the email interaction through to the website and what pages that they went onto. Now what Dynamics have done is automatically added these UTM parameters into the body of your emails, which follows a consistent taxonomy, which you can obviously change yourself if you had something quite custom set up and linked to other technologies such as your Google Analytics as an example. But that's something that they're looking to roll out as part of the standard in marketing. Another area within marketing I thought is quite relevant, and especially with how we market to our customers these days, is through frequency capping. Now, when we market to our customers, we can market them through multiple different channels. It could be through emails, SMS, it could be through mobile push notifications, but it could also be that we're doing multiple campaigns across the business or different brands. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to send content to our customers. Now, to us, that's a good thing because we're getting our name out there, but from a customer side, it could be that the type of content is overwhelming. So they're receiving a lot of stuff from you guys that at that point maybe a bit too much, and they may decide that, oh, I no longer want to receive this type of content anymore. Let me go and unsubscribe from this, which is the worst case scenario. What the marketing solution now allows us to do is actually define frequency caps on each of those channels. So should you have multiple campaigns running, we can then define at a system level, how many emails do you want to send out to your contacts on a day, week, month, and put a cap against that. That way, when your marketers are creating these multiple campaigns and your contacts may fit into multiple campaigns that they've built up, then whichever ones that they receive first will be the first ones that receive the comms towards the frequency cap, and anything else will then be put into almost like a suppression list until the frequency cap is lifted until the next month or week or day. This doesn't include transactional emails though. So transactional emails will still be excluded out of the frequency cap, but for those outbound communications, this is where we can then start to put those caps in. So I thought it's quite a useful feature to have in today's world. Now, moving into sales. So there was two areas that really sort of jumped out to me, and this is where I'm going to introduce the first word AI into this conversation. I'm going to mention it a lot in today's topic, but in one of the updates as part of the Dynamics 365 sales solution is, first of all, you're going to notice some improved user experience interfaces. So what Microsoft have done is taken what the current user interface looks like and optimized it in a way that the sellers can easily view their information at a single screen rather than having to click on multiple tabs, giving them sort of the insights into, or a very good summary view of the customers or the opportunities that they're dealing with without having to sort of click through different tabs. But in addition to the changes, it's also around the actions that they can prove as well. So in terms of like the command ribbon that you have at the top of the screen, for instance, that will be then defined as sort of the common actions that those users will perform as well. So if, for instance, you may have buttons that are hidden away within the ellipsis and drop-down menus, then those will be moved up forward into the most used buttons as well. So it's making the user experience simpler for the sellers. Now, in addition to that, when we talk about AI and intelligent suggestions, this is where it gets really interesting, because with sellers putting information into the system, sometimes they may feel that they're putting a lot of information in, but they're not getting something back. This is where the world of AI comes in, as Microsoft are constantly infusing AI models and suggestions into understanding the data that's being put into Dynamics and providing sort of next best actions and recommendations. So within the context of a form, for instance, we may have an up next best action widget, which will allow us to show the sellers, based upon historical interactions, what's the next best action that they should take. Is it a follow-up email? Do they need to compose, do they need to create a follow-up task, as an example? In the sense of a phone call that they're going to have and they've planned with a customer, showing them the history of the previous conversation to get them up to speed with what was previously discussed, as opposed to having to search for that information. So this is where the system is now intelligently working to the sellers to get them the information they need to be able to have that contextual conversation or engagement with the customer and have it a bit more personalized. Taking this to the next step, it's also looking at how can we upsell and cross-sell products into our accounts or into our opportunities. So again, looking at system data and how we define relationships between our products to then provide suggestions to the sellers to then say, well, based upon historical interactions, we could potentially upsell the customer with this product as opposed to the one that we were talking about here, or even cross-sell other products in addition. So I personally think that it's going to also do a world of wonders with how we work with the data that we're putting into the system and the sort of the new leveraging sort of the AI models to provide this information upfront, where we can focus more on the actual one-to-one relationship with our customers. The other area I wanted to touch upon is the management of opportunities. So what Microsoft have done is release another experience view for sellers to be able to really understand and manage their pipeline through this new visual that they will have. So if I just talk you through what it actually is. So on the top of the screen, what they will be able to see is very high level KPI metrics about their pipeline. So this could be the total pipeline value that they have, that they're currently working on, the total number of deals that are made up of that pipeline, how many of them are won, how many of them are lost, what were the values of the ones and lost, and those can also be updated to specific KPIs that they would want to see as well. In the center of the screen, we'll give them a sort of bubble chart view of their pipeline, looking at where opportunities are at what stage, and giving them an insight of what opportunities they need to focus on. So the ones in the future they can start I keep an eye on, but the ones that are sort of clumped into the back, they may want to focus on because they're the ones that are looking to close or were expected to close but haven't done so as of yet. And they can click on each or highlight over each bubble, which will then give them the related record information behind that as well, so they can quickly see, right, this is related to an opportunity X, Y, and Z, and this is the information around that. And at the bottom of the screen, we've got the subgrid view that essentially makes up the chart at the top. So these are all the opportunities that they're working on, which will make up the chart bubbles. But within each one of these, they can quickly update the records without actually even going into the record itself. So from the grid view, they can quickly make updates. It may be that the estimated close date needs to be pushed back. They can simply do that from the grid, or if they select the line item within the grid itself, it will open up this side panel, which is the opportunity view, where they can add additional information, such as they may want to update more than one value, or they may want to update notes or any activities or follow-up actions that they need to do right from the single experience. So allowing the users to work in a single screen rather than having to click away from the forms and working in and out of records. So again, simplifying the experience for the end users. The next one I want to touch upon is customer service. So this is where it really gets, so from a customer service perspective, AI, we've kind of seen it in the past with things like chatbots, but they've taken it to another level. And this way, it's now not using AI for potentially customer base, but using AI to help and support the agents actually having conversations with your customers. So in the past, when we're having chat conversations with customers through sort of live chat channels, for instance, we may have pre-created templates on responses or knowledge articles or off system documents that the agents use to support their response back to the customer's query or conversation. This is where, using the AI model that Microsoft infused as part of the product, the AI can then start to contextualize the type of the conversation and contextualize the recommended suggestions of responses that they may want to provide back to the customer. So you can see here that the customer asked this question and the AI model has provided these different suggestions. They can obviously hide them and use them or answer themselves, but it again uses the AI model to be able to understand how you want to respond back to the customers in the most effective way and give the agents the most value and productivity tools to be able to answer the customer's questions quickly. Moving into the other area, which is around forecasting, which again I think is a very important factor in today's world, is when we talk about customer service, we are now looking at expanding our service channels to more than the traditional phone calls and emails. We're also looking at, say, social media channels. We're also looking at chatbots or even our live chat channels itself. And trying to manage a support desk can be quite difficult when you don't have a view of how much demand is going to be required per specific period of the year or day, as an example. Now, this is where the forecast model will then start to look at that historical information that you've got within Dynamics and look at the trends and peak periods to be able to then give the contact center managers a view on a day, week, month, or even a 6-month period of what the demand is going to be looking like based upon those historical interactions. Let's say you may have peak periods in your business. That way, the customer service desk or the customer service contact center managers were able to start to see that we're going to definitely see an increase in demand within the support desk at this period. Let me make sure that I've got enough people on the desk to support this influx as well, to then also maintain the customer satisfaction values with your end customers as well. So again, very sort of important information that the customer service managers can use as part of their shift plannings. Now, moving into field service, so there were two areas that sort of jumped out to me. One was around work order costs and not exceeding the costs. So when we're dealing with customers, we obviously want to maintain a relationship with them. We also want to define that we want to make sure that we're not exceeding customers' expectations around costs if we're doing repairs on assets or chargeable work to them on the field. So within field service now, we can define those cap limits per each customer. So should we have an agreement to say we're not going to do any work that's over a certain cappage or cap limit, we can define those per each customer. So when we're building out our work orders and adding those chargeable materials such as the actual assets or engineers service time, for instance, or any sort of taxes, then we can set those limit frequencies, and should the work order exceed that limit, then we can apply approval processes to make sure that the customer is aware of this exceeded cost, and we would only carry on forward should there be agreement between both the customer and the person supplying the service. This also then factors into the next bit around the cost per work order. So whenever we're charging for work, especially when we're trying to go out and fix stuff, we want to try and provide the customers with the best or the most accurate costs upfront. And this is where the insights piece within here will start to look at what you've got as your estimated costs within your work orders and how that reflects on the actuals based upon the historical information that we have. So looking at optimizing what your estimates are versus your actuals, it will allow us to then get a more of a defined structure of what your service costs are actually going to be for each work order that's going to be raised or generated for the customers. So their expectations is going to be much more accurate in the sense of what you're going to be charging for the service, rather than them receiving a hefty bill which they didn't think they were going to at a later date. So I thought that was, again, another sort of key area within the field service area that I would touch upon. Now, moving into the world of AI Copilot. So some of you might have heard about this. It's been all over my LinkedIn feed and socials since it's come out. But what is Dynamics 365 Copilot? So Microsoft termed this as a Copilot bringing the power of the next generation AI capabilities and natural language processing to Dynamics 365, working alongside businesses, professionals to help them create ideas and content faster, complete time-consuming tasks, and get insights and next best actions just by describing what's needed. Sounds pretty cool, right? So what does that actually mean within Dynamics 365? So I broke it down into three areas that we're going to start to see within the product itself. So within the Sales and Sales Viva's side of the platform, it's all about being able to leverage the AI, so ChatGPT or OpenAI technology, to be able to automatically create email responses based upon what the customer has sent in. When we're having meetings with our customers, the AI model looking at what that meeting was about and being able to understand the transcript of the meeting and any takeaway actions and any follow-up actions that's required, to be able to then create those activities for the end users to make sure that they're following up on them and having them created in the system and nothing's being missed off. And likewise with actions and insights, like I mentioned in the Wave release on sales, being able to use that data to be able to provide proactive insights to the agents. Maybe you should contact the customer at this time because this is where they best react to your messages, or maybe you should delay it for another time because they may be away for a week. In terms of the customer service, this is around being able to provide those customer service agents with a 24/7 AI assistance model. So whenever they're working with a customer, using this AI assistance model, they'll always have a support bot available to them to be able to help answer queries. Personalized emails, likewise, with very similar to the email responses, having the AI model be able to provide and understand the context of the email that's come in and provide automated or AI generated responses back to the customer. And then AI PVA bots, so Power Virtual Agent bots, being able to use AI models on your websites to be able to scan and analyze the content on your website, to be able to provide the customer with the relative information without actually having to build those conversation tree topics and so on. And then when we come into the marketing, natural language processing on segmentation, when we're trying to dissect our customer base, trying to look at, right, who is the right target audience we want to look at. Sometimes it may be a bit difficult to structure the data given the way it's built, or you may need to have some sort of data architect understanding of how modeling data works. Well, nowadays using AI, you can just simply ask what you're looking for, and the model will go ahead and build out that target segment for you, which you can then go ahead and market to. And then the last point is content generation. So when you have co-writers or marketers who are writing out emails to our customers, sometimes, and we all suffer from it, we all get writer block. This way, using the tool of AI generation or content generation, the system can then start to understand what type of messaging you want to get out to your customer by providing some keywords, and it will generate some preloaded responses for you that you can then start to use. Now, I've talked about this. Now, what I want to do is actually go into a demonstration to show you this and how it actually really works. And the first area I wanted to touch upon is the sales area. So I'm in my Outlook, and as a seller, I've received an email from this lovely chap called Shilan Kimani, and he sent me an email saying that he's hope I'm doing well. I had a great holiday with my family. Just wanted to follow up with a discussion that we had before around a product. In this case, it's a Cafe A100 automatic. I think we're at the point of where I would like to get a quote for the machine based upon the numbers that we've been discussed. So no specific numbers mentioned there, just the numbers that we discussed previously. Please can we give an indication of the cost, and so I can go to the board for an approval. Perfect. So typical email that a seller will receive from a contact. Using Sales Viva, which essentially is another application within the Dynamics 365 stack that connects your Office 365 applications and your Dynamics CRM data together. But using Sales Viva, I can then start to leverage that power of AI to be able to auto-generate and draft an email back to the contact. So in this case, I've got a few different suggestions on the type of email I can draft back. I want to make a proposal response. So I'm going to select that. The AI model is now going to take the context of the email, generate a response, and as you can see, it's now giving me a response to that email. So you can see here that it's thanking me for my email, referencing the product that I mentioned. It's taking up a quote of 50 units, so we've not specifically mentioned it within here, and a price, which again, it's not specifically mentioned in here. And it's also suggested, or maybe we should have a follow-up date on Friday. So it's actually suggesting a time as well by looking at my calendar and seeing when I'm available to have a meeting with the contact before to discuss the proposal that I'm going to send across. So you must be thinking, right, how is it actually getting this information? Because we've not got it within the email and we're in Outlook. This is where it connects Outlook and Office 365 applications into Dynamics. So if I go into my opportunity record, which I actually have this information about the deal that we're talking about, you can see from here that this is the Shilan Kimani contact that sent an email. Within the products tab, it can see that this is the product that was related to the opportunity, and you can see that this is the value that is picking up from that the AI has suggested that it brings back as part of the response. So you can see that the system's automatically taking the information and finding the links of this email, getting the response back to the customer, and I can then go ahead and use this to then respond back to the customer. Or if I want to change the way that content is generated, or change the way we want to use the information, or change the messaging type that we want to do, we can then add different suggestions and then regenerate and then use that again to my next opportunity, use that against my next reply. Now that's one way the AI works within Sales and Sales Viva. Another way I wanted to show you is through the insights capability. So in this case, I'm in a lead record, and as a seller, I'm having an engagement with this contact. In this case, it's Gabriella. Now, I've got a follow-up call that I've got with her. So this is my next action that I need to have with her. But before I have that follow-up call, the insights is flagging up that maybe I want to catch up on the last call that was that we had with her. So analyze previously what was discussed there. So in order for me to get up to speed, I can click on that call. It's now going to reference which call that we had previously. And from here, you can see that on the right hand side, I've got that call transcript, highlighting key information. I've got the call recording at the bottom of the screen, but also action items as well. So from that last conversation, there was an email suggestion that it said, look, I've got, or I mentioned that I'll send you an invite that you can forward it on to this person. So it's automatically picking up this information based upon that conversation that I had. So I can start to use this either through follow-ups of my meetings or even catch-ups of making sure that I've actually done the activities that I mentioned on the call and I'm ready for the next one. Now, this is taking it to the next step where as sellers, they can also do things like bank qualification through their qualification process. So understanding the budget, authority, need, and timescales. The system can automatically identify that information to then again help qualify the leads that they're working on. Now, just conscious of time, I think there's two more areas I wanted to show how AI works within the platform. In this case, I'm looking at a marketing perspective. So within Dynamics 365 marketing, I've got some content, an email that I'm generating. But let's say, for instance, I want to use some content generation ideas to help me support sort of the text messaging that I want to get out to the customer. This is where I can then start to use the content suggestion ideas where I can define the type of content that I want to get out and the messaging that I want to get out to the customer. So being able to provide key points into my messaging that I want to include, and the type of voice that I want to use as well. So do I want to use an engaging voice or casual? So depending on the type of messaging I want, I can select that voice and then get ideas, which again, the AI model is going to understand what you're trying to achieve and produce a whole set of responses that you can then go ahead and add to the email and refine to make sure that it's the right messaging that you want to get to your customers. There you go. So it's now provided me with a whole host of different responses, which I can either use. And let's say I want to use that. I can simply say I want to add that into my email, add that in, and then let's put that bit of contact into my body of the email. I can go ahead and make any other further amendments to it, but it's simply creating the content for me, so I don't have to think about, or when I do get that content block moment. The content generation piece will always be there to support and try help me word it in the right way that I'm trying to get to. Now, final point I wanted to touch upon, and this time it's the customer service scenario, is where we may have live chatbots on our website. We may have chatbots that will then feed into the customer service desk. How do we infuse AI into here? So what I've done with this chatbot is I've plugged the HSO website into this chatbot. And what I want to do is ask it a question. So let's say, for instance, do HSO implement dynamic, can't spell, 365 solutions. There you go. At that point, it's going to scan the website and then start to suggest using AI models that, there you go, yes, we do offer solutions, and here's some web pages that you can view as well. In addition to that, let's say, for instance, what's the next HSO Lunch and Learn topic that's available? In this case, it's going to scan that and goes, there you go, the next HSO Lunch and Learn topic is what's new in the Wave 1 release for unified operations. Here's a link for that. I can click on that link, takes me to the landing page where you can then sign up to view what Chris has to say about what's coming up in the next Wave release next week. And as you can see, this is really powerful stuff. And then all of this stuff is going to be really driving sort of the next set of couple of months and years of how the technology is going to evolve to adapt into sort of everyday lives. So luckily, I've gone through everything I needed to go through today. I appreciate I have rushed a lot of that, but I did actually want to show you and bring it to life on how this technology is evolving and how it's going to be introduced into our day-to-day lives with D365, and hopefully you can start to see where the value is going to be coming for you and your existing implementations with D365 as well, and investment in the platform. Perfect. Just wanted to wrap up on the demo. So, as we mentioned, Chris's webinar is next week. Steve, did you want to expand on that?
Well, thank you very much, Sean, for the overview of Wave 1 CE. Some powerful functionality and features being introduced there by Microsoft, which could actually make my role as an account manager significantly easier as well. So thank you very much for that. I should have mentioned the next presentation on the 30th will be similar, Wave 1, new features and functionality for unified operations. We also have coming up in April, next slide, I think, please, Shilin. April the 20th, take control with your documents. We are inviting our partner LaserNet to join us for a presentation of some of their solutions about taking more control, ownership, and driving down costs of document outputs for customers. So I'd like to say thank you very much for joining us all today. And I look forward to seeing all of you next week. Thank you.